Please take a seat. Nice and comfy. To maybe do a quick introduction round, first of all, on your very left, on my very right, we've got Kristen Michal, who is the Minister of Climate and of the Republic of Estonia. We have Dr. Einari Kiisler. Wait, that's slightly mixed up, that's fine. Who is the Head of Partnerships and Strategy at the Finesse Center for Smart Cities, which is part of TalTech, so Tallinn University of Technology, a research and development center to create smart, human-centric and resilient cities. We have Madle Lipus next to me, the Deputy Mayor of the City of Tallinn, which also received the European Green Capital Award of 2023 and wants to build a more sustainable, adaptable and inclusive Estonian capital. And lastly, second from the left to you, from your side, is Markus Hääl, who is the CEO of Wolfscape, which is combining technology and academic research to create new city environments. For example, an industrial seaside area in Tallinn that is being turned into Estonia's first climate-neutral neighborhood. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the stage. I'm trying to keep these panels as general questions, directions as possible, so I would like you all to answer the same questions. For the first round, perhaps we can go from left to right. From your various perspectives, how would you assess the current state of smart governance and technologies in urban development, and what exactly is your contribution from your different perspectives?
Welcome, everybody. It's a very broad question, to be honest, but from my perspective, I'm the Minister of Climate, responsible for different climate actions. From my perspective, probably the biggest questions are that how acknowledged it is that we should have different means in transportation, in movement, in energy, in renovation. In Estonia, if you look at the Eurobarometer, it has a very big gap between average European person and Estonian in acknowledging the climate change and the problems with the climate, and how wise should you be with your energy efficiency and so on. So this probably would be the biggest issue in my area, to change the minds and hearts, to open up to climate issues.
Thank you very much for that intro. Markus.
Hello. So first of all, I would look at it more from, as you also actually mentioned, from the people side, because the social aspect is something that we often forget about. And I think the mindset and the look towards climate in general, and especially if we look at smart government, is extremely important. The very, let's say, essence of it in general, I think, is that when we look at like city development in general as well, because 70% or 75% of people already in Europe live in cities, and cities that give us the 80% of GDP actually also are the cause of about 70% of greenhouse gases. And this is why we need to solve cities, and why smart governance is extremely important as well. To actually look at how we develop cities today, then I would say that we are looking at let's do it very technically, but I think we should look at more human-centric, let's say, development and design for it, because eventually people are very people look at their basic needs. I want to have a good job. I want to have a roof over my head. I want to make sure that my kids are doing fine. So comfort comes first. So why not look at it as a product development or technology side, in the sense that let's make sure that the back end of everything is super nice and well thought out, so that my daily life doesn't change, but at the same time I am in any case acting sustainable. I'm acting in accordance to where the world is turning.
Thank you. Dr. Kiisler.
Yeah, right. Let's say one of the issues that probably comes into mind when we speak about the smart cities is that, say, when originally we spoke about the digitalization of cities as an aim. Now we speak about the sustainability as the main aim. And actually, with actually echoing what Markus has said, that we should actually turn more into the ways how the people feel in these cities. So the well-being of people should be in a core there, but the sustainability and the digitalization should support these aims in both sides. Well, one could even say that, well, if you think of the carbon neutral cities, then cities can be made carbon neutral very easily without people. If you don't have people, you don't have carbon emissions. The most carbon positive city in the world probably is Chernobyl. So, but this is not the aim to have cities like this. Yeah. So we will have to think about the well-being of people, how actually these people, in together with sustainability improvements, would actually benefit from all of these developments.
So let's talk about sustainable citizen-centric cities. How is Tallinn doing?
I think Tallinn is doing great now. The basis of Tallinn planning policy, it's a 15-minute city. And it's not just numbers when we talk about 15-minute city, that everything has to be close when walking. But actually, I really agree with previous speakers that what's in the center there, or has to be, are the people living in the city. Because actually the goal is to provide a nice and convenient living space for the people. So in my opinion, the goal or the challenge and the answer, they both lie in better urban planning. Because the case in Tallinn, where the situation in Tallinn hasn't been so good, previously, because Tallinn has been planned really car-centric. And that is the problem from two sides, or that creates a really huge transportation emissions, and people have to travel really long distances. So our main goals are to deal with this car-centric city and turn it into a people-centered city, where everything you need daily are really close to people living there. But one issue we also have to tackle is the building quality, or like the housing development quality. Because what we see now is that much of Tallinn's CO2 emissions are coming from housing, and actually just the poor quality of housing, which we are now about to start to renovate.
I think urban developments are such a fascinating topic for modernization because, as you just pointed out, there's plenty of legacy. There's good legacy. People love the old town. I think all the visitors here in this room today, they're glad that the young Estonian government back in 1918 did not decide to burn it to the ground and do something new. I'm very happy today. But then also we've got legacy like, if I'm thinking of Pirita Beach, which in most Western countries would probably have been turned into a seaside resort kind of thing. And the Soviet Union said, no, we're going to put a big motorway there. So there's different kinds of priorities for different kinds of systems of governance. And I'm so happy that we've got the national government, the local city government, academia, and the private sector represented. How do we feel about the job that we are doing in Tallinn, in Estonia, in the world, in getting all the different stakeholders together to the table? Is there one stakeholder that perhaps is criminally undervalued or underused, under-relied upon right now? I can see some fingers twitching from academia already. No, but just curious how you view that balance and where we should move to have a constructive conversation about our urban developments. Maybe we'll start from left to right again.
Okay. First of all, I would say that even though I'm not in the same party with Madle, but
we'll not talk about that right
now. But she has fresh ideas, I must say. Not as the mayor of Tallinn, but this is my personal opinion, to be honest. Because everybody who's in Tallinn right now can see all the I don't know, whatever, all the streets are dug up and nothing is happening. But the problem, if you look at the, let's say, one city level, in Tallinn level, it's capital of Estonia, not too big, but it's a capital of Estonia. The issue is that it's not going any denser because you don't have any plannings in Tallinn. You have, to be honest, it had 8 detailed plannings passed last year? 8. We have 12 months per year, 8. So you can imagine how hard they are working or hardly working in the city government. That is still a debate, but this is not Madle's issue, but her colleague's issue, to be honest. And that causes another problem. We're talking about innovation, CO2 emissions, and so on. If we don't grow the cities denser and people cannot move there, use the transportation or go by bike or by foot and so on, then they will build all the houses around the city. And you will have this kind of belt you see around the Tallinn. Right now, everybody's moving there, and this is the density. You cannot use public transportation. You cannot build enough for this. So this is one simple problem you can solve with a different cooperation, even on the academics, on the entrepreneur side, with the city government. So this is one thing we must solve.
I think we'll work ourselves from the national level to the local level, and then we'll go to private sector and academia. Your thoughts, Madle?
Yeah, I have to partly agree with Kristen that, that really we didn't pass or accept too many detailed plans last year. But it was exactly because we are like totally turning the way we are thinking about planning in Tallinn. And like, unfortunately or fortunately, it takes some time. And the reason for turning it is exactly, or the key is actually in cooperation. Because previously the cooperation between different parties, not like political parties, but the stakeholders, it was quite scarce. And even people in the local government, like different agencies of local government, weren't really aware what was the aim of all we are doing. Now what we are really trying to build the new type of city government or the governance is that we first set the target, the aim, and I totally agree that we have to concentrate all this urban planning in the center or in the sub-centers in order to make the city more denser, to make the car usage less daily usage less necessary. But making this turn, it's just quite a big effort. But in my opinion, it's the only way we actually can make our cities and also Tallinn more sustainable. And of course, smart city solutions and data, it plays a really important role in it, just because till now we have had, or how planning typically works is that we have this architect's idea and we have big general plans. But what we are doing now is that we are really we want to base it also on data, that we have the great ideas, but also the actual data of what's happening in the city. And I really believe that if we bring those two things together, then we can make decisions that really make the world and the cities better.
I think the challenge is exactly, it's very difficult to change these running systems while they are running. And additionally, humans are animals of both comfort and habit. And so I remember when the city public transport was made freely available for residents of Tallinn, and a year or two later, some analysts said aha, it didn't work because not everyone immediately sold their car, their horse, their everything. I think all of these changes, they're generational questions where we will see the effects perhaps 10, 15, 20 years down the line. If we turn to the side of academia, do you feel like you are being sufficiently included in these discussions? If you are not, is this an Estonian question because Estonians are notoriously quiet and less chatty, or is this probably a global phenomenon that's just humans not interacting as often as they should?
Well, if you expect that I would say that academia is left out from this discussion, then actually you're pretty wrong. Because
awesome,
actually,
perfect.
In our case, we see that our center is actually very much as a centerpiece for new innovations in cities. And actually, just a small pitch there that actually we have just launched our second round of pilot projects for the cities. And what we do there is that we gather the challenges they have and then, let's say, put the researchers, scientists, to work on these. And usually it takes like a year and one to get them through in order to come up with the very new solutions to the cities that can be used. Of course, we identify oftentimes also some, say, regulatory hurdles or the data privacy issues, for example. But anyhow, this kind of new solutions actually put academia into a very good position. Of course, the financing in this case is coming mainly from European Regional Development Fund and the Ministry of Education and Research. And with this financing, we actually can engage also cities in the process. And this is something that makes it a bit different. Usually when cities would like to get some new ideas, new innovations, they have to make a tender and get it done. But we turn it vice versa. We have the financing ready for the cities as well.
Sort of proactively pushing these things.
To be part of it. And then the companies would be open to come and take also these solutions to the markets. So this is kind of collaboration that actually can provide a very good framework for the say, new developments and support also engagement of academia.
Awesome. Markus, can you obviously share your opinion on this topic and also perhaps tell us a bit more about the project that I mentioned in the introduction about the carbon neutral neighborhood?
Yes. So I will start from the slightly higher picture. I think the difficult part in Estonia also is that because most land is privately owned. In a lot of countries in Europe, the developable land is owned by municipalities. So it's, I guess, slightly easier to plan it. So I think that's why in Estonia the collaboration between academia, municipalities and private companies and the citizens is extremely important to actually move this big ship to the right direction again. So what we started doing for this is that we took the academia, we took the government, so the enterprise Estonia, together we have invested around 1 million euros today to build the digital twin. And this digital twin is used to see how each square meter affects the square meter next to it. Just to understand not only, let's take one building and look at the life cycle analysis of it, but we started looking at how winds affect it, how sun cycles affect it, how people movements affect it, how the environment around it is being affected when you actually change brownfield into a 45-hectare new cityscape. And this is not to only look at, let's say, this one point where you change it, the area around it, but also how it affects the whole city, because polycentric cities is something that helps cities become more carbon neutral, that make different parts of the city more accessible for everybody. So this means that when you look at it from a holistic view, then you can actually address all the sustainability issues, which is environmental, which is economic, and which is social, because they all affect each other. The good example, I think, for that is affordable housing, which is a huge problem in Estonia because the rental prices are getting higher, the square meter pricings are getting higher, and we think this is a social problem, that people can't live in the city center. But actually, if you think about it in another way, then because they have to move outside of the city, it's a transportation problem, it's an economic problem for the city because you need to spend more money on transportation infrastructure, and at the same time, it's a CO2 problem because now we have more greenhouse gases coming. So all of these things have very wide variety of causes and effects, but we tend to have a problem of having tunnel vision to specific problems in a specific way. And this is what we're trying to change with that tool set. So if we get, let's say, SimCity was a computer game a long time ago where if you build the building, you see the cause and effect of that building in all aspects. And that's what we're kind of trying to do here.
That sounds good. On your previous point, a wise colleague of mine once said that there are no solutions, only trade-offs, and I think this is also true in the planning of urban development, because exactly as you said, if you have them in the city, that's one kind of problem. If you have them outside of the city, I'm living 10 kilometers outside of the city. It's a very different problem, but you know. It's all trade-offs, so certainly something to be considered. If we can perhaps go from the national level down to the local and to the academic and private sector side, what is the one low-hanging fruit that other countries, other cities, other research institutes, and so on can sort of look at to improve the quality of life for residents of an urban development as quickly, as cost-effectively as possible? Where should most countries start?
In Estonia, there are many low-hanging fruits. One is planning. We already were discussing that planning on the entrepreneur level, on the city level, on the wider level. Second one probably would be all the renovation in Estonia, because as Madle already mentioned that we have lots of housing that has poor energy ratings and so on, that affects quality of life, your income, your options in the future and so on. So that probably is the second thing. And in Estonia we're just starting a program, it's called factory renovation, which is like a little bit building a Legos around the houses. It gives you a perspective of the time, of the prices and so on. You can go on. So this probably would be the second one needed. And the third one is that with different data and innovation, we can model all the traffic and all the movements of people, because right now we have fund allocated also to Tallinn, to Tartu, to Pärnu, and also it gives the opportunity to have with the experts the models and real bike lanes and also new tram lanes and so on. So these are the things which are in Estonia quite near to grasp.
Your thoughts?
Again, I have to agree with it, Kristen. And my 2 points would be also the factory-based renovation, because in what we are, well, it's a thing that we are lucky and at the same time unlucky in Estonia, and especially in Tallinn with, is that we have those huge areas of Soviet modernistic buildings, which are at the moment very little energy efficient. But with this factory renovation, we can turn them easily much more energy efficient and really gain a huge, well, yeah, really lessen the CO2 emissions quite easily. And Tallinn has now started a pilot project. What we're doing, Tallinn now a lot, is piloting different, well, maybe small and also not so small ideas. And this, we're now also piloting. We have like also a European project where Taltech is our partner, or at least I think even the main partner of the project, where we are not only renovating one house, but we do it like there is a quarter, 4 houses. And what is really important with this factory-based renovation or renovation in general is that we take into account also the social aspect. So we really want to bring people into the process, be them part of it, let them decide how they want it to be renovated, what the outcome, like also in a social way, should be, how the courtyard or the area between the houses should be renovated. Because actually we are not doing it only for the energy efficiency, but we also always have to keep in mind that it's also like a social project. We are creating better, or we have to create better city space for people living there. So I think this mass renovation, but with social aspect, is one low-hanging fruit, especially in Estonia and all the other countries where this kind of Soviet time of kind of building, where there are a lot of them. And the second low-hanging fruit is to use better the data we have, because that's also the problem in Tallinn, is that we actually have lots and lots of data, not only about traffic, but also about where we have different services, how people can access them, what is accessed easily and what is not, and also everything that Markus was talking about. But at the moment, the data just lies somewhere and finds no use. And of course, it's, well, when I look at it from the city government side, then sometimes also for the, it's difficult. Well, you have so much data, you have so many questions, so where should we start? And we don't start. But what we are doing now is that we are focusing on small pilots, simple topics, but we do it in a way so later on we can just layer up and have a more complicated model in the end. Because, for example, now we are focusing on kindergartens, on schools, how people access them, whether we need more schools, and I think it's a really, really nice pilot that we can build up to be a really inclusive and larger database city planning project.
I think on your first point, the structural approach is really important because you mentioned the sort of post-Soviet sphere, all these buildings, the Khrushchevkas and so on, that have been built not just in Estonia, but the Baltic states, Poland, down to Central Asia, which is an industry that you can effectively expand because they're very similar buildings in type and style. And if different countries strive for these kinds of energy efficiencies and so on, it's an open market to capture. From the academic side, how do you see these developments?
Yeah, well, actually, to go beyond these points that actually Madle and Kristen have already put forward, let's say, yes, the energy efficiency of buildings is a key question actually for, say, moving towards sustainable cities. But even if you do such kind of projects, you will encounter unbelievable issues. Let's say, if we speak about the data, for example, that would be available about the buildings, well, if you look at the quality of this data that is available in public databases, then actually this is below any kind of limits, because say it's outdated, it's faulty, it's wrong, so it's missing. Let's say you cannot actually rely quite a lot on this data there. The other thing that I would like
where does the problem lie there? Is it,
well,
is it data collection?
Usually this information about the buildings should be provided by the house owner to the municipalities who enter then the information there. But if the house owner doesn't provide the information, or if usually it's oftentimes also the question that the municipality asks for full set of information about the building, and this kind of information can only be delivered, for example, in 5 years or 3 years, 5 years' time. So there is a lag, basically, in this information that is available. The other question that I would like to highlight is that, well, yes, there are quite nice solutions that we can use in cities like Tallinn or Tartu, but we have also smaller cities.
And Tallinn and Tartu are small enough already on the global scale.
But even smaller. Well, so the issue there is that they are not capable of doing all of that we can do in Tallinn and Tartu. And we have to raise somehow the capabilities of these cities as well, and to address their issues in the same level as we do it in bigger cities.
To quickly pick up on this from another angle, our team that I work with has done an analysis for the Estonian Association of Municipalities and so on, and the IT, the tech stack that all the different municipalities have at their disposal is extremely fragmented at crazy different levels of readiness, of capacity, and capability. So perhaps a more unified approach there might be useful as well. And
there is one positive side there. Usually in the smaller cities, it's much easier to do things.
It's a test bed. Absolutely, yes. And if everybody knows the mayor because the quote-unquote city has a population of 5,000, then it's a bit more straightforward. We were slowly running out of time. I want to ask you, and perhaps also the other panelists, on providing all that data comes with bureaucracy, and if it is burdened upon the owner or of the building, where can we find the right balance between gaining data that is relevant for urban planning, but also still making it, I don't want to say as user-friendly as creating a company in Estonia, you can do that in 20 minutes, but something close to that, so that having or building an energy-efficient house does not become bureaucratic punishment for the next year. How can we balance that?
Yeah, this is a very important question because we have lots of questions like that. We are trying to have offshore parks. We're trying to have different energy units all over Estonia. And the main question is that how to cut all the bureaucracy without sacrificing the public involvement in different plannings. And also the housing has the same question, but as already mentioned, we have the data available. We have also different sets of programs that can be used with the data we already know, because you mentioned Hrushchevkas. These are in Tartu, they are called already smartovkas because they are very smart buildings and so on. But this factory-based renovation is among one thing that you don't need too much data because it's like unified to all the housing which has the poorest energy ratings and efficiency ratings. So this is the lowest hanging fruit you can grasp right away. Yeah. This does not need any more bureaucracy. So you have one or two set of examples and you can start. So this is good for the entrepreneurs, this is good for the people, and also very efficient usage of money and data. And after that comes all the data with the movement, transportation, and so on, city planning.
Markus, your thoughts?
Well, there are, I guess, two things. First of all is when we use data, then it's very important to realize that we shouldn't only look at the past data for future scenarios, because we're trying to change the mindset and the way we work. So getting to future results with past data sometimes can actually also be breaking the advances in general. The second thing is about regulation. I guess important that we don't over-regulate, because in a lot of cases incentivizing could be a better option, because over-regulating can often also stop some parts of the innovation. And finally, I would also add that we have a lot of information available already. Like, for example, when we take city planning in general, United Nations Smart City, Sustainable City Strategy, I mean, is a very good example that has been developed for over a long period of time already. We could use this information quite fast, but instead, in a lot of cases, everyone's like, I need to prove that this is actually right. So everyone starts researching and redoing everything, and then this again delays this adaptation today, not anymore getting ready for climate change, but adaptation today, because climate change is here, and then we are even slower and slower. So I think the very low-hanging fruit is that we have a lot of the information available that we need to actually make the change. We just should act on it now.
In 30 seconds each, Einari and Madle.
Right. Well, I think the key there is that we have to review the whole legislation as well, that how actually this building renovation should be done. And I'm very glad that the ministry has put forward some actions on that. But the question there is not only about the Estonian regulation, it's also about the European Union regulations. And this is something that the ministry has to put forward in the EU level as well.
Yes, I now come to, as a deputy mayor, I now come to a really local level. And although the factory-based renovation, it's really, well, it's rather standardized, but there are still really many problems connected to it. And what we are now trying to do in Tallinn in order to lessen the bureaucracy for people really willing to renovate their houses is that we are also trying to standardize the problems and then standardize the solutions for them, so that that if you, as a head of your housing unit, you start this renovation process, then you don't have to go through the process all on your own, but we as a local government, we are already prepared actually to help you. We know how you can renovate your balconies, or if you want to add an elevator to your house, which is a really common problem, and at the moment we don't have a good solution for it. So how to standardize this? So that's, well, I think that's our good and really necessary solution for this problem.
We're all standard humans. We all have standard problems in housing and elsewhere. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking our panelists for this very interesting discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.